Are you frustrated by the amount of time you're spending developing and designing your Power BI reports? In today's video, I want to show you some tips and tricks that will allow you to work smarter and not harder when you are developing those reports. So today I want to show you a couple time-saving tricks. I've been working one-on-one with a lot of newer Power BI users in one-on-one virtual mentoring sessions. That's where we get to sit down one-on-one with you and work with your own Power BI solution and help you try to tackle a problem or a hurdle that you are encountering and help you try to come to a solution in that section. Now, I found in working one-on-one with a lot of these customers, these newer Power BI users, that there's a lot of simple tips and tricks that they aren't using currently, aren't applying, that can really help speed up the amount of time they're spending developing and designing those Power BI reports. So let's go ahead, let's take a look at a couple of those tips and tricks. We're going to first start out here in the Power Query editor. So I'm going to open up this sample AdventureWorks cycling report that I have with everyone's favorite fictitious bicycling company. And I'm going to go ahead and select Transform Data to launch that Power Query editor. Remember, that Power Query editor is going to launch in a separate window. So here in the Power Query editor, I want to show you a couple of simple features that are available right there for you in the UI. It can help you speed up your development time. So one feature that is extremely helpful is known as column from examples. So if I head over to my customer table and I take a look at some of my data, I can see that I do have some columns specific to my customer's name, first name, middle name, and last name. But if we scroll, I don't necessarily have a customer full name column currently. So how do we create it? Well, there's a couple of ways we could go about this, but I would like to show you how to do this using that column from examples feature, which is all about working smarter and not harder. So up here in the Add Column tab, we are going to use this column from examples feature. Now, this is a drop-down feature, and you can see there are two options to select from. From all columns allows you to choose from all columns in this table, and from selection would then only choose from the selected column, which wouldn't work for us right now because right now I only have the customer key selected. I'm going to choose the top part of this button, which is really going to give us the From All Columns option. The top part of the button is often a shortcut in Power Query and Power BI, another little tip there. So I'm going to select that icon to open up Column from Examples, which gives me the From All Columns option. Now, the way that Column from Examples works is it allows you to provide a sample value that you want to see as the result in your column. Now, that sample value that we are going to provide is going to be a combination of our customer's first and last name. Let's take John here from the first row. So I'm going to go here into the first row of column 1 here, and I'm going to type out John's name just as I would like to see it here, and then his last name. I want a full name column just like this. So we could type that column out like this and hit enter, and it's going to give us the result that we want. That's one way to produce this. Or let's say if we didn't want to do that, what if we wanted to do last name, comma, first name? Let's go ahead and try that out and then hit enter. You'll see it's going to update the column to show the data exactly how we expect to see it the way that we typed it, which is super neat and really efficient. So could I have gone in and opened a custom column window and put this M code in to create that new column and leverage the custom column window? Yes, I could, but this got us that column much faster and much simpler. It's also a good idea while you're in here to rename your column. So I'm going to call this my customer full name here now. Double checking the spelling there the way I want it shown. Perfect. And then I'm going to click OK. It's now going to add it to the end of this customer query here, which is perfect. The next thing I would like to show you how to do is how to quickly and efficiently remove columns that you are not using in your report. So there is on this customer table, let's say, we'll take a look at this. We've collected a lot of customer data, probably more than we really need, right? But if I take a look here at some of this data that's probably collected when our customers place their orders, like email address and there's some education information here, occupation information we might be concerned with and interested in. But let's say we're not for this particular report, phone number. What if I wanted to get rid of these columns as they're taking up unnecessary space in my model and I'm not using them? How would I delete them? Well, I could go to the column, select the column, and highlight, multi-select the columns I want to delete, and then go ahead and hit delete. But if I select those columns like phone, and then I go find, let's say, my email address as well, I've got to scroll and find it, select the column while holding control. I've got to hope that I've maintained the control and selection at the same time and don't lose them, right? And then I hit delete and I can delete them. However, when I delete columns this way, notice that we don't get this gear icon next to remove columns. I'm going to show you a better way to remove those columns. I'm going to hit the X to add these columns back. And up here in the home ribbon, the home tab of the ribbon, you will see a couple of options: choose columns and remove columns. Let's take a look at choose columns. And I'm going to hit that icon again, which is going to open the shortcut to this feature. This is going to open all of the columns that are listed out here in this query, which is really nice as it shows us every single column. I can go in here and say, you know what? I know that I don't need that email address. I can scroll and say, you know what? I don't need their phone number either. And maybe for this report, I'm not concerned with their education or occupation. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of that information again because it's just taking up space in my model and I don't want it. I'm not going to use it for reporting, right? Maybe like suffix is also another one I won't use for reporting. Title's probably another one I wouldn't want to use. So you can go in here, uncheck those columns very quickly, very easily, then click OK. And then just like magic, it removes those columns. So you can click back to the previous step, see that we had 30 columns. And now in that last step, now we only have 20. So we got rid of 10 columns there very quickly. Let's hit close and apply and head back to the desktop. And we're going to take a look at a couple of other examples of features that we can use and leverage to help modify our development very quickly. Let's head over to our data pane here and take a look at some of the columns within our data, our dates table. Now here in our dates table, I can see there are a few columns that are showing a little icon next to them. And the columns I'm most concerned with are these columns that have this sigma symbol. When you see a sigma symbol to the left of a column name, that is letting you know that an implicit measure and aggregation has been applied. Power BI by default is going to aggregate any numeric column that you bring in to the desktop. Now, sometimes that is advantageous to you and that's going to save you time. But what about those date columns? Do I want to summarize my year column? Do I want that on my day number of week, day number of year? Probably not. So we can fix that and we can turn this feature off. Now, the default way to do it, or the main way, would be to select the column, which is going to highlight the column, and then open up column tools, which is going to show you your column properties. Right there, I can see that the summarization is in fact set to some. I can change this to don't summarize and watch as that sigma symbol goes away. Now, what's interesting about that is I could go in and do this one by one for every column, but there's a faster way. If you head over to your model view, from the model view, you can expand any one of your tables. And from this view, you have the ability to go in and open up column properties for a particular column like calendar semester. And down at the bottom in the advanced section is where you'll see the summarize by. From the model view, you can hold down the control key and you can multi-select those columns that you want to tell Power BI not to summarize by. So now I have all my columns selected from my date table. I can go down here into advanced and I can go ahead and change the summarize by. Notice it's letting me know I have multiple values selected. I'm going to go ahead and change this from what it's set at right now, which is default or sum, to none. And there we go. Very quickly, we changed the summarization for all of those columns all at once, which is a very quick implementation for us to apply. Very, very cool. All right. Now, the next thing that I would like for us to take a look at is a way to organize all of your measures so that they are easy to find. Currently, right now, if I open up all of my tables, I can see that there are some measures. There's some calculated columns on each of these tables. I should have most of my measures there here in the internet sales table. I can see those there. Let's see, are there happen to be any more? It looks like they're all on that fact sales table, which is where they should be. But sometimes it's difficult to remember which measures you named, where they were, and where they're located. And maybe you will have measures located on another table. Maybe you're going to have multiple fact tables. What do you do then? How do you make it easy for users to find? Well, there's a couple of ways you can go about this. One way is to create a measures folder. So I can select any measure from my internet sales table. And when the properties open, I can choose to create a measures folder by calling this I'm going to call this my sales measure. I'm going to make it really specific here. And then I'm going to hit enter and notice that measure looks like it disappeared, but what really happened is it reorganized and it alphabetized the sales measure that I told it to put in there into that sales measure folder. There's another way that is often preferred by users in the community, and that's to create a measures table. So I'm going to go ahead here and delete this folder by deleting the name of the folder. That's going to automatically delete this. But I'm going to show you now how to create a measures table. One way of doing this is by going to the ribbon, selecting enter data, and then here you can give your table a name. I'm going to go ahead and call this my measures table, and you know what, I'll call it my all measures table. And then I'm going to go ahead and click load. There is a kind of template, a blank column there, but that's just acting as a placeholder. We'll delete that in just a moment. Go ahead and select load. And then from here, we will see at the very top, we have our all measures table. Now, right now, nothing is in there, but we can go down to our sales table. And just like we did previously, we can multi-select these measures. And so I will go in here and multi-select the measures that I see from my internet sales table, being very careful that I don't accidentally misclick. And then from the properties, you can see the home table currently says internet sales. From the dropdown, I'm going to change this to the all measures table. And now if we go to the top, we'll see all of our measures are here. I can delete that column 1 as it was just a placeholder and it doesn't actually contain any data. And now we have this nice measures table that's populated right at the top where we will see it and where all of our measures are going to be. Now, when I go to create a new measure, I can just click new measure and it's going to open up there in that measures table, and that's where all my measures will be organized. All right, here in the report view, what I want us to take a look at is some of the tips and tricks that can help us speed up our development when we are working with our visualizations. Let's head over here to page 1, and I want to show you a little shortcut on how to modify the font in your table visuals all at once. So when you select a table visual and then click format your visual, you'll see that there are different sections here. We have the style presets, which we can go in and change kind of the way that this visual looks. I can go into the grid and modify the grid properties. I can change the font from the values here. I can go into my column headers and change the font size here. I can go into my totals and change the font size here. There's a lot of places for you to change the font size individually. But what if I wanted to change the font of all of the text in this visual, the font size all at once? I can type in global and get my global font size. And I can go ahead and say, you know what? I really think this should be the standard 14, and it's going to modify and update those fonts sizes for each section, the rows, the column headers, the totals, everything all at once. Pretty neat, right? Let's head over to that sales analysis page and let's take a look at this. Let's say here, for example, I wanted to modify the title of my profit margin by English month name and age breakdown. So let's say I select this visual and then go into my format your visual settings, and then in the general section where that title is located, I'm going to go ahead in here and maybe we will go ahead and change this to showing the profit margin by, let's do the month, and we'll do age breakdown. So month and age breakdown is what we'll keep it at, and then we'll center it and we'll leave it right there. Now what's nice about this is once you've applied the settings for one visual, and let's say you have a similar setting like the title and you want to modify it on another, I can select that format painter, grab my column chart and paint the format settings onto that one as well. So you can easily copy the settings from one visual and paste them essentially on another using that format painter. Now I can go to each one of my visuals and it's going to center my title for all of my visuals that have a title if I wanted to. I'll keep the slicers as they are, so we'll leave those alone. Now, I can go through and update each one of these visuals independently, modifying them as I go. And that is fine, but that can take up a lot of your time. Going into each visual, selecting the format settings, and going through all of these different settings here to modify these. There has to be a better way, right? Up in your View tab, there is a theme section. Now you have the ability to go in here and choose from some predefined themes, including these accessible themes that have been designed to make sure that they meet the web content accessibility guidelines. We'll link those in the description in case you want to read up more on those, but we have a whole universal design playlist that talks about these tips for developing accessible and inclusive reports, as well as more. So we can click through some of these and try to find one that we like, but maybe you have particular company any branding or logos that you want to apply. You can go in and customize your own theme and set up all of the settings that you want in place and have the particular color options you want. So we could go through here and modify all of these settings, but once you have all of your theme settings configured the way that you want, you can click apply, and then when you're done, you can also save that theme, and it's gonna save that theme as a JSON file. And then you're able to share that with others and import it in. Let's take a look at importing a theme that I have set up for us. So I'm gonna hit the drop down in that theme section. I'm gonna hit browse for themes, and I'm gonna apply this theme here that we see and add it to this report. And now we just have a very kind of a blue theme that we can use here. We would want to go in, of course, and tweak some things here possibly, but you can use that as a jumping off point here as well to help get your report set up with a cohesive look. Goes along with the branding of your company as well, that you can set that up. We have a whole report design playlist that was curated by Allison Gonzalez on our YouTube channel that talks to you about how designing your own theme, designing your own backgrounds, and saving those, as well as more report design tips and tricks. Be sure to check those out. All right, everyone, that's it for my time saving tips and tricks. These are just a few of those tips and tricks. This is not a comprehensive and exhaustive list, but I would love to know, are there any other tips and tricks that you would recommend or that you would like to see in a future video? Let me know, and maybe I'll do another video here on tips and tricks for intermediate and advanced Power BI users. For additional help in working in Power BI, be sure to check out the link in our description to download our Power BI cheat sheet. I hope you've enjoyed this video here today, and I hope to see you in the next one.